What is good? What is up, y'all? It's your boy here, Jay, back and better than ever with another episode of Padres Banter. The Padres go ahead and take the weekend series in Colorado, but now we're headed back home for a 7-game set, 3 against Cincinnati and 4 again against Colorado, before heading back on the road for their last 6 games of the season, 3 against New York Mets and 3 against the Chicago White Sox. We'll be getting to it all right here, recap and review, all right here on Padres Banter. The Padres end their 5-game skid and went back-to-back games in Game 2 and Game 3 in their last series in Colorado. But thank goodness, because I don't know how I was going to be in my mental state if they weren't going to continue to win games. Like I said, ending a 5-game skid. But without further ado, welcome back, and let's get right into it to this episode of Padres Banter. The Padres escaped the weekend in Colorado with a series win yesterday in the rubber match versus the Rockies 8-1. As Dylan Cease pitched a gem of a game, going 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, and 5 Ks, 102 pitches, and win number 7 for Dylan, 7-11, a 4.71 ERA to end the day. Also getting some run support. Hasn't been getting a lot of run support in his starts, but gets some this time with 8 runs, but also some hits as a squad out hit the Rockies 15-6. Manny started off the game with a 2-run shot, 23rd of the year. Then Merrill Madness would follow the next inning with his 10th of this season, reaching double digits. Then Sheets would soon have his 19th, also a career high for him. And last but not least, the MVP since the deadline, Laser Ramon hits his 23rd of the season. So big time for those guys going ahead and getting their home runs in the mile high. But overall, the Pods had 5 players with 2 or more hits today, not today, but yesterday. Them being Manny, Jackson, Gavin, Jake, and Freddie Fermin. Great days from those guys yesterday. Although the last games resulted in wins, the Padres were riding a 5-game losing streak coming into Game 2 of the series, like I had lamented at the beginning of the podcast. And SD, who opened the series with a disappointing loss, managed to turn the luck around and win the series now within 1 game of the Dodgers entering today. So very exciting stuff. But let's go ahead and get into a slight breakdown of Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, and really how we got to this point, and then eventual, preview of the series that we got going on. A 7-game stand at home, first against Cincinnati and then 4 against, again, Colorado. So let's go back to Game 1 last Friday. In Game 1, San Diego fell 3-0. It was very disappointing to lose to that team, is considering that we had, already lost 4 straight, and then to lose 5 straight going to Colorado, it just wasn't looking good, especially against the Kyle Freeland, type pitcher. Not any knock on Kyle Freeland, but up and down year for up and down career, really. But ultimately, you expect our lineup to go, to the Mile High City and really just tee off. But we really haven't been good against left-handed pitching this year for some reason. So anyways, in Game 1, San Diego, like I said, fell 3-0 as the Padres were limited to 3 hits on a great Kyle Freeland start, going 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 10 Ks on 88 pitches. That is an outstanding start. If there was a start that you try to idolize, if it's not a perfect game, or if it's not this, it's not that, and if it's not a complete game shutout, any of those things, right, that are like good, accolades for pitchers to go ahead and achieve, then it's these types of starts. 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 10 Ks on 88 pitches. I'd try to do that on MLB The Show, right, having 10 pitches in an inning. He literally had almost 10 pitches in an inning, going into the 9th inning. I mean, just an outstanding start. Can't say enough about that for Kyle Freeland. And Vodnik went ahead and came in and closed the door with the 7th save of the season. Kyle Freeland dominated, and as did Nick Pivetta. Not a bad outing with also 6 inning pitch, but 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 Ks on 99 pitches. But like I said, that's not a bad start. Ultimately, it's the bats and the lack of support from that lineup. But still a great start from Nick Pivetta. I mean, I still would take that start. 6 innings pitched. I'm sure a lot of those hits came on the back end. But ultimately, 2 walks, 5 Ks, that's not a terrible start. Kyle Freeland's a little bit better, but Nick Pivetta still had a very solid start. And really, it was just the lineup, lack of run support in that case. And speaking of the lineup, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Schilt when it comes to mixing these things up. I've lamented to that a couple podcasts before, where I want to see, maybe a rise out of the lineup, maybe a rise at second base, maybe Cronenworth at short, maybe Cronenworth at second base. I don't know. And we got to see that this series, and I'm very, very genuinely, happy that Mike Schilt is starting to try new things, because I was scared for a minute there he was going to get, stuck in his ways and continue to go with the same lineup throughout the entire playoffs. And that's something I don't think that we should do. So I'm glad to see him mixing up things, but he is a bit close-minded at times. And, ultimately just take the pitchers out when they need to be taken out. Please take them out. I'm tired of it. Bob Melvin put us through the ringer when it came to these things, leaving pitchers in longer than they should and overcooking them. I trust when it comes to, your relationship with, when I say trust, like Mike Schilt and the players' relationship, I trust that. And I understand that he has an bearing, love for his players. And sometimes it goes a little too far because he then believes in his players a little bit too much and then starts to leave him in there. Oh, he's a veteran, he's done this and he's done that. I get that, and I'm so happy he's a veteran and he's doing great things now. But just because you feel that way about somebody doesn't mean that they're going to have it every day of the season, right? We've seen it a couple times this season specifically where you leave somebody in a little bit longer because he believes in them, and then eventually you can just see that they don't have it from pitch number one, but yet he leaves them in. So I don't know. I'm one, obviously, to want to grind through situations, especially when I was a player. You want to grind through situations and work it out. But if it's costing the team games, if it's costing the team runs, then obviously I don't think that should, you should take him out. So back to my point. Close-minded, yes, in a way, but I'm glad that he's mixing things up. But just please take the pitchers out when they need to be taken out. Just please. I don't want you to be the next Bob Melvin and be hated for that. But let's go over the Game 1 lineup. I just wanted to go ahead and throw these lineups up, for you guys to see, so you guys can kind of understand what I'm saying when he's mixing up these lineups. So let's start with Game 1. Tatis in right field, O'Hearn in first base, Machado at third base, Sheets at DH, Laureano in left, Merrill in center field, Iglesias at short, Cronenworth at second, Diaz at catcher, and Arise did not start this game, so that was a big mix-up there, to go ahead and do that, because a lot of people didn't think that they want to have Arise out of the lineup, but he wasn't in the lineup. O'Hearn was at first, and Sheets was in left. I think that's another way that you can do it. Now moving on to Game 2, Vasquez had himself an outing, going 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned runs, 3 Ks, putting the Padres in position to win as they did, racking up runs, but giving up too much too late. So Vasquez had a great start. Yes, it's 3 runs, 2 earned runs, and only 3 Ks on 8 hits, but in that ballpark, 6 innings pitched on 8 hits and 2 earned runs is a good start to me. It's a tough ballpark. It's a hitter's ballpark. And even though it's a lackluster Colorado team, they still put runs on the board, and they still can. So going in there, knowing that, Vasquez had a great game. I know it's, probably 8 hits, and it doesn't look as good with all the Ks and, but 6 innings pitched. When you go 6 innings, that just tells me that you've had it that day, and you had a great feel for your pitches. You go ahead and feeling that fastball. The slider was working that day for Randy. So like I said, 6 innings pitched is always a great start, no matter what, as long as you're not giving up an insane amount of runs and putting in your team in position to go ahead and win that game, which he did. Padres out-hit the Rockies 16-14, but should be more lopsided, to be honest, because if not for the 4 runs in the 7th after a 10-5 lead going into the inning, there probably wouldn't be as many hits as the Rockies had had. Estrada would give up a bulk of the runs, leaving fastballs high and not throwing his sliders in the dirt, and they were hanging. Once those pitches don't work, his chitter is irrelevant. So it really just wasn't a good outing for Estrada. And past couple outings haven't been too good. He's been giving up a lot of home runs, fastball been flat, and he's leaving it up. Slider's not diving. So I hope Estrada figures it out before playoff time. Miller also would come in, and Suarez as well, giving up 1 run, but would close the door for the win. Game 2 lineup, let's go ahead and pay attention to that real quick. So the Game 2 lineup was a little bit different. They put Arise back in the lineup. They had Tatis in right, Arise at first, Machado at third, O'Hearn at DH this time, Laureano in left, Merrill in center. They went ahead and had Cronenworth at second, Fermin at catcher, and Mason McCoy at short. So they were mixing it up. Remember talking about Mason McCoy a couple podcasts ago. Hopefully he can get some run. He got some run that day, got a knock, got an RBI. So great to see him. Bryce Johnson, not to mention, came in and replaced Jackson Merrill for a defensive replacement. So that was the game 2 lineup. Great to see because we obviously got the win there. But the Padres also stopped a 5-game skid. So that was great there as well. But moving on to game 3, the bats were on from the jump, as I said. Manny started the party. Cease dealt and kept the altitude at bay, with Morihone, Captain Morgan, and Marinaccio coming in to seal the deal after Cease pitched. But want you to pay more attention to the game 3 lineup with a rise back at second, Jake back at short for the first time since 2022, and making an absolutely fantastic play, and O'Hearn at first base. So, like I said, mixing it up, Mike Schilt. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Like I said, Tatis in right, Arise at second, Machado at third, O'Hearn at first, Laureano in left, Sheets at DH, Merrill in center field, Cronenworth at short, started there at short, and Fermin at catcher. Then we had Bryce Johnson come in and replace Tatis in right field for a late substitution defensive replacement. And he went ahead and played right field for those later innings. Then Arise went ahead and slid over to first after Iglesias' pitch hit for O'Hearn. And then they went ahead and slid Cronenworth over to second base and put Iglesias at shortstop. So that is awesome to see. Schilt mixing it up, guys. Schilt mixing it up. And that's all I've asked for. And all we've really asked for as fans is to go ahead and mix it up. Go ahead and try to see what's working, see what can work. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And sometimes, managers get stuck in their ways, thinking that their way works, and the way that they got, the reason that they got there is because of their way, and that's valid. But that doesn't mean that you're not able to mix it up. You're not able to try and indulge in other things and try and see what else works for you. I just think that Melvin got caught up in his ways when he was with us. To have that type of roster and not try and mix up a lineup whatsoever is insane to me, and to leave the pitchers that he did in. But that's besides the point. What we're talking about here is Schilt doing what we said we wanted him to do and mix up the lineup, change it up, switch things up, see what works while we can, right? When playoff time comes, we can't switch up the lineup. We can't be doing these things when, we're thinking about, well, this lineup doesn't work. Well, maybe we should put this guy in. Well, thank God we're doing it now because this is the time to do it. Yes, it's the last 20 games, but better now than never because, like I said, once comes playoff time, a lineup will be set in stone. Although the Padres would go 1-11 with runners in scoring position in Game 3, 8-17 in Game 2, and 0-4 in Game 1. So great series win and much needed, but the Padres went 9 for 32 with runners in scoring position and gave up 29 hits even though having 34 hits. So a lot of hits given up and not a lot of hits racked up with runners in scoring position. 9 for 32 is just not okay, especially against the Colorado Rockies. So, and we haven't been a great, runners in scoring position hitting team, but that needs to change. That needs to change. As much as it is good to still point out the bad, and ultimately, you just want to be, not too, high on your horse, thinking that everything's good and gravy and all that stuff. So, like I said, wanted to go ahead and point out the things that we could possibly fix in the glaring holes with 19 games left, but also some crap news for the Padres. After his start, the San Diego Padres placed left-handed pitcher Nestor Cortez on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to September 4th of 2025. He went down with left bicep tendonitis, which is not good because that obviously is his throwing arm, and anything in the arm, elbow, bicep, tricep, forearm, not good. So hoping for the best and hope that he can recover fast. Not sure if he's going to make the playoff roster, but truthfully, I just think that, you want to get better. Left bicep tendonitis is not something that is to play with. It can really end your career if you don't, take care of it. So I pray for Nestor Cortez and hope all the best. And I appreciate the wins that he gave us and the starts that he gave us when he came over. Was hoping that he'd make the playoff roster as one of our left-handed pitchers, but looks like that's probably going to be serious if we have him at all on the playoff roster. So We'll see, guys. We'll see. But that's just some news I wanted to go ahead and give to you guys. But now looking forward to the Reds series starting tomorrow. Not tomorrow, today. Ugh. I wrote this last night, mind you, where they just took the series versus the Mets, now putting them back 4 games of the Mets in the wild card. So big wins for the Reds over there, winning their series in New York. I believe, actually, no, it was in Cincinnati. But either way, they went ahead and won the series against New York. And New York's right ahead of them in the standings when it comes to wild cards. So they gained some ground on them. But now they're playing us and definitely going to, try and gain some ground, again, on not only the Mets, but us as well, and try and make us fall back into the standings in the wild card. Right now, we're in the second wild card spot, 2 games ahead of the Mets when it comes to the last wild card spot, and 6 games ahead of the Reds. But the Reds are looking to scrap and claw and do whatever they can with 19 games left. And, the way that we're playing baseball, I wouldn't be shocked that if we lose a couple of these games, but we need to win 2 of these games. We have to. We need to take this series. The Dodgers go ahead and face the Rockies, and then we come back and face the Rockies right after they face the Rockies. So we need to capitalize, not only on this series, but also in next series, because like I said, it is one of those things where you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose too many games. You don't want to lose too much ground here, because it'll truthfully come back to bite you in the butt. But let's go over here into the standings real quick for the entire MLB, because we haven't gone over them in the past couple of podcasts, but I feel like it's only right because we're talking, even though it's a Padres Banter, go ahead and talk about the standings and what's going on throughout the entire MLB and keep people tuned in. So let's start with the NL East, as the Phillies have a 7-game lead now over the Mets after they dropped 2 of the 3 in Cincinnati. So the Phillies are 83-60. The Mets are in second place at 76-67, 7 games back. The Marlins are now out of it at 66-77, 17 games back. Braves 64-79, and Nationals 58-84. Now moving on to the Central, the NL Central, the Brewers are 7.5 games above the Cubs. They're 89-55. The Cubs are 81-62. The Reds are 72-71. Really out of the division, but still in the wild card race. And the Cardinals are 72-72, with the Pirates 64-80. Now moving on to the Dodgers. The Dodgers are 79-64, a game above the Padres, 78-65. The Padres are in second place, a game back. The Giants are out of the division race, but really surging late as of late, winning 7 of the last 10 games and starting to get into the wild card fold again. They might make some noise, who knows? But they're 72-71, 7 games back of the division. The Diamondbacks are 72-72, and the Rockies are 40-103. Moving on to the American League. The American League, we got the Blue Jays leading the AL East at 82-61. Then the Yankees 80-63. 2 games back of the Blue Jays now, gaining some ground on the Blue Jays right there. And the Red Sox are 3.5 games back at 79-65. Then it's the Rays and the Orioles, both 71-72 and 66-77, really out of the division race. But the Rays might sneak into the playoffs. We'll see if the AL East can get 4 teams into the playoffs. The American League Central, the Tigers have a lead on the Royals by 8.5 games, 82-62. The Royals are 73-70, 8.5 games back in second place. The Guardians are 72-70 as well. The Royals are 73-70. The Guardians are 72-70, 9 games back. The Twins are 63-80, 18.5 games back. And the White Sox are 55-89, 27 games back. Now moving on to the AL West. We got the Astros ahead in the AL West by 2.5 games, 78-66. Then the Mariners 75-68, 2.5 games back. Then the Rangers 74-70, and then the Angels 67-76, 10.5 games back. And the Athletics 66-78. So the Mariners are a close 2.5 games back in second place. We'll see if the Rangers can continue to not, fall back and tread water, because truthfully, it's looking vague for them right now because they keep falling in the standings. But let's get into the wild card standings now before it is too late for you guys. Let's get into the NL wild card standings. We got the Cubs, we got the Padres, and the Mets at the top of the wild card positions. And then we got Cincinnati and San Francisco, both tied at 4 games back of the Mets, and the D-backs at 4.5, and St. Louis at 4.5. So those are really the 4 teams, the Reds, the Giants, the D-backs, and the Cardinals, that are going to be in contention for the last wild card spot. But now let's move into the AL wild card spot. Obviously, we got our division leaders, but we got New York, Boston, and Seattle right there in the mix for the top wild card spots in the AL. Then we got the Texas Rangers a game and a half back. We have the Royals 2 games back. We have the Guardians 2.5 games back. And we got the Rays at 4 games back. And then the Angels at 8. So really it's just those 4 teams at the top with the Rangers, Royals, Guardians, and Rays, all within 4 games of the last wild card spot. So right now, Seattle clinging to that last wild card spot. But truthfully, they're my dark horse. I think that Seattle will make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, they'll make some noise. So I'm hoping and praying to see that for Seattle again, because it's been a long time for Seattle just in general, having success. And now they're starting to have, year after year success. And I'm hoping for the best for them. I really am. But in the end, at the end of the day, we need to at least take 2 of the 3 in this series against Cincinnati, against the Reds here at home, to even think about the division with the Dodgers. Like I said, they play Colorado at home, and then we go ahead and play Colorado following them for a 4-game series at home. So these games are vital, making sure that we play sound baseball, as we have Darvish on the mound tonight for us starting at 6:40. And, I'm interested to see the lineup tonight, guys, and how we do going forward. But we need these wins so bad, and we need to just continue to, like I said, keep our eyes forward, keep pushing forward. I know it's been a tough, past 7 games for us, but we're starting to turn the page. We have some teams that are winnable, winnable series, and we need to just continue to, put the pedal to the metal. And I'm hoping that we, start to floor it a little bit here, because, sometimes it seems like we're a little lackluster. Bro, there's no time than now. It's 19 games left before playoff starts. Do you want it or not, is the question. But at the end of the day, appreciate you guys tuning in to my episode of Padres Banter, episode 3 to be exact. And man, I'm juiced, bro. We'll just keep this rolling, and hopefully the Padres get the dub tonight and the series win. I'll see you guys on Wednesday after the series is over, and we'll start that new series against the Colorado Rockies. All right here on JPA. But we out.